On the breakfast, President of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy is called for production of active pharmaceutical ingredients for drug manufacturing to ensure medicine security.
Also on the breakfast, President Muhammadu Buhari approves the immediate disbursement of $350 million cabotage vessel financing fund to indigenous ship owners.
We'll also look through today's newspapers, bring you the biggest stories with analysis to follow right here. All these ahead on the breakfast. And we're back with the breakfast live from our studios right here on Victoria Island, Lagos. My name is Kofi Bartels. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Welcome.
And I am Messi Aboko. It's good to be back on your screen this Monday morning. Compliment of the season, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And of course, we're here live on Plus TV, and we on Plus TV are set to bring you the best of programming as far as the Yuletide is concerned. But for now, it's a breakfast. We usually start with our trending stories, and that's what we'll do before we get to our major conversations as early advertised. We implore you to sit back and relax with your cup of tea, as usual, like you always say, and you enjoy the program. Well, a lot has happened over the last few days since we were last here. We've been away for some days, Mercy, and for obvious reasons. I'm sure those who have been watching Plus TV have seen, what's been going on air. But we've used the opportunity to recalibrate, and we're back. A lot's been happening. The first one we'll look at, the Nigerian police says we should not throw knockout. Let's just put it that way. For those who are not watching us in Nigeria, you need to ask if a Nigerian or West African person to explain or to tell you what we mean by knockout. It's not the one you see on in the boxing ring where you get knocked out. This is different. It's fireworks. Fireworks. In this part of the world, we call the fireworks knockout. Or if I want to go more local, banga. Banga, so I mean, we all grew up as kids, and this was something that we used to do in Nigeria. However, from time to time we get these police advisories. This time we hearing that the Nigeria police in Edo and Delta states, this is coming from the Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG, in charge of Zone 5, which comprises Edo and Delta states. Is saying this, the Nigeria Police Force announcing a ban on use of fireworks in those states. We don't know if it's going to be a national thing, but this is across the country. So if it's coming from the Edo and Delta AIG, it's set to be implemented across the country on Saturday. His name is Lawan Jimeta. He announced this through the Public Relations Officer of the Zone, DSP Tijani Momo. That's what they said. According to the statement, the AIG says that the devices are explosive and can cause harm to lives. Fireworks are explosive and can cause harm to lives and property, as well as disturb public peace and cause unnecessary panic among residents of the zone. That's Zone 5. That's Zone 5. So this is what he's saying. We also hear from the news agency of Nigeria that the statement also said in part, quote, in view of the above, the zone hereby appeals to the general public, parents and guardians to desist from detonating or lighting these devices. Parents are to encourage their children in their wards against the purchase of or use of these items. Retailers of these items or devices are equally advised and warned to stop the sale, as any person or group of persons found flouting this order will be arrested and prosecuted accordingly. That's what they're saying. Interesting.
and I remember the conversation that we have had, off the air, about the banger, the knockers, just like you had
Oh yes,
mentioned.
yes. I was saying that they said I should not throw
Because that's your culture. I mean, that's what you're used to. Me, I'm scared of that stuff. It's very scary, so I don't even want to go, close to it because of the sound and all of that. I'm paranoid, so it freaks me out every other time I hear that, and then I'll be wondering, is that a gunshot? What's going on? Are robbers around? What can it be? But I definitely understand, where the police would be coming from at this point. If it's the police or generally the notion surrounding the banger, the knockouts, depending on where you are and listening from, the fireworks. However, it's because of the current security situation, but not necessarily, because every other time, we have all of this injunction being put out, by the police or, the state government. But this is actually for Edo State. And just like Kofi had mentioned, we don't know if it's going to be, a national issue. However, there's no statement, from the Lagos state government. Over time in 2020, 2021, there's always statement, hey, we need to avoid the use and the sale of it. But one of the things that's of a major concern for me is that when we talk about a ban, because this has become a culture for us, every time we get to the festive period, and so you have state government police officers, or the police in different states across the federation putting out all of the report. So if you say you ban a thing, let's even assume that it was in 1999 that it was banned. At what point was it lifted? Because it feels like when we come back to, the festive period, then we begin to say it's been banned. So does it mean that after the festive period, it's not banned? The ban has been lifted, and then we get back to the festive period. So I think that we need to do a lot. But looking at the social space, there's been several reactions. Nigerians have reacted differently, and some of the concerns are really, okay, how does that solve the problem? You also need to look at, if you are saying you're banning the use of fireworks in the country, then you also need to look at importation of this. How do we get it into the space? How does it get into the market? Is also another question, because it's not made in Nigeria really. So that's another conversation. But I know that it might just be really saddening for a lot of persons because of the culture. I mean, a lot of people are used to that culture, but we also understand the issue of of security and the concerns of security, and also safety. Another aspect of it would be, how far can we implement all of this? Because implementation is another deal. We're not very great on implementation, so it's fair to say, hey, the Nigerian police is banning the use of fireworks, especially that's coming from Edo State. Like I said, it's not a national concern, but even at that, how far will that be implemented?
Yeah, interesting question you've asked, Mercy. How far will that be implemented? You made some pertinent points. I'd like to build on that and add a couple more, quickly. Is this?
I feel like Kofi's so paid, but it's fine.
Yeah. We each time I hear this thing, I feel a bit of pain, because we grew up. We grew up. This was what we did as kids, on the streets. This is what we did as kids. We always had. We could buy. I mean, we started with cupboard.
You're so old.
Cupboard, I'm not saying cupboard. I won't advise, children to use cupboard, because it's a dangerous, chemical, and this is why I think not just the police, but actually the fire service needs to come out, and because they are more soft, when people see fire service, children see fire service, they or even emergency is something, they don't feel afraid. They can listen, they can go to schools. Imagine a police officer going to school. If a fireman goes to school, they want to look at the fireman, where can wear his gadgets and all those things. They will want to touch him and see him. And then you educate and enlighten the public. You have categories, so we have to be clear. We used to use banger, back in the day. Cupboard, sorry. It's a white chemical, it's a white chemical. So what we'll do is we'll get the chemical and get a counter, that's a crown cork of a mineral, soft drink, and then put it inside and then pour water inside. We'll get a tin, this.
Is that not so much information
no,
right now?
This beverage tin, it will drill a hole at the bottom, and then we'll stand a fire, light fire onto it, long stick, and pour water onto the cupboard, and start boiling. And then when we just put the fire at the tip of a hole, all right, that is covering that of the tin, beverage tin. I'll mention that one, that brown one.
Which brown one?
You hear boom. That boom is, I think is the biggest boom.
But that's what the police is
but this is not what they're talking about. They're talking about fireworks, and that's my I think I would encourage. I think the police they're being proactive, which is good. I want to applaud them for that. But it should not be a Yuletide or perennial. Every December they just release a statement to show they are doing some work. No, these things should not be covered. Should not be easily accessible. If it's banned, you need approval, also some sort of a license or some sort of approval before using it. Then they should state it. They should come out and tell us these are the categories of fireworks. Because there are fireworks that are harmless, Mercy. There are fireworks that are harmless. Those ones don't make noise. Those ones are just, even the little ones that we hold sparks. You understand? The sparks. So they need to come out and state which category of fireworks we have. Number one. Number two, I think these things, like you said, are imported into the country. They come through the ports, mainly from China. Now we have bigger ones because the ones that fly like rockets, those ones you have to plant them and they'll fly like rocket. Because the Chinese, they're the masters in the art of fireworks. They do it. It's part of their culture. Their fireworks displays. So they have very big ones. They are dangerous if you're not used well. So we need to have categories, and then say these ones are approved, these ones are not. Don't just say fireworks are. What do you mean? You understand? And then let it be a ban. And like you said, let the ban be there. So you can't even import them. What are you going to tell businessmen who have imported them and have stocked them ready to sell? It's going to find its way to people's homes. I'm sorry. It's a waste of time. This statement is coming too little too late. People have imported these things and have been selling them. In fact, they've already started throwing the fireworks, Mercy. This is, what's today's date again? Today is 12th of December. They've already started throwing Christmas fireworks. Yeah. So what are you going to do? It's a bit too late. So we need, first of all, they need to de-emphasize the police nature of this. That's number two. They need to categorize the fireworks and then ban them outrightly. And number three, they need to prevent importation of the banned ones. Number four, they need to do a massive public enlightenment. And I think this is the way to go.
Let's quickly move on to another exciting one. Even though that has gotten a mixed reaction to that, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has actually disclosed the plan to the reopening of the second Niger Bridge that has been on. It would actually kick off from the 15th of December, through January to the 15th. So it's just for a period of time, the second Niger Bridge. That has been, you need to see how Nigerians have responded to the second Niger Bridge, the reopening and all of that. But quickly to the crux of the matter, okay, because there's an advisory travel ahead of it, the reopening of it is that, number one, heavy duty vehicles will not be allowed to ply that way. I'm just putting it, in summary. So heavy duty vehicles moving from east to west is saying that from the 2nd to 15th, only vehicles moving from the east to the west will be allowed to use the new bridge. And so every other vehicle, as long as you're not moving passengers, you're not expected on that. Because, according to the report, is that it's not 100% completed. So it's about 95 or thereabout. But that's also it. And members of the public are also informed that the heavy-duty trucks and trailers will not be allowed, just like I mentioned on New Bridge, during the period. Now, the general public and road users are, with this development, advised to cooperate with all traffic managers to ensure free flow of traffic during this period. So, yes, some people think that it's great, others don't think that's great. But, Kofi, what are your thoughts?
Mercy, I think, we need to transcend. We need to overcome, mediocrity. Mediocrity in the sense that there's nothing to celebrate here.
Okay.
There's nothing to celebrate. It's a shame. It's a shame that we've been on this second Niger Bridge thing for years. I mean, you want to go back to 1958, 1969, 1958/1969 political campaigns by the then Shehu Francis, who was a candidate of the National Party of Nigeria, NPN. You understand? He was campaigning, saying he would. That was his campaign promise. You know, in 1987, there was a warning by the then Minister of Works and Housing about the state of the existing River Niger bridge. You know, and then of course, it's been on from there. They've been talking, voting money and all that. I remember Obasanjo when he was leaving in 2007, I believe, marched, you know, to the site and did a symbolic groundbreaking, you know, so that it wouldn't be as if he left and he didn't do anything. But then nothing happened. It's been on and off, on and off, and on and off. You know, so for me, it's nothing to celebrate here. It's there are things that, you know, in today's modern world, you don't expect, you know, government to take years and years and years and years and years, and this one will come and that one will go. And I mean, I think countries that are not even as big as Nigeria are achieving greater feats. You know, it's just a simple bridge. What's the hullabaloo rather about?
Well,
I don't know why you're laughing. Why is the hullabaloo about? You know.
No, but
why are you laughing?
know,
I said I don't know.
Because I really don't know
what's the hullabaloo? It's.
But Kofi.
So, but I think that I applaud. Okay, I applaud because whilst we're bashing, you know, I mean, we're talking.
We're not
about,
bashing. We're just thinking.
Whilst we're talking about, you know, the obvious need to redouble our efforts in terms of infrastructure development, we also need to look at the positives. And in every situation, it's positive. And I think that brothers and sisters, my in-laws, okay, who are going home for the Yuletide, and Christmas, will enjoy, you know, the enhanced flow of traffic using the second Niger bridge. So that's a good one. I also think that it's good to say the articulated and heavy-duty vehicles should find their way, alele, to the old bridge, so they don't come and spoil matters for us. Because these guys know how to spoil roads. They're the ones who spoil roads. These heavy-duty vehicles. Well, of course, our roads are substandard, and that's why when the heavy-duty vehicles use these roads, they go about easily. You know what I'm saying? And then they begin to fall and tumble and all that. You know, so it's a good one. Kudos, but really, for me, we are behind the rest of the world. Look at China. You know, Mercy. We don't have time. The Chinese are the ones who we invited to come and build this bridge for us. It's a shame. ECOWAS went to invite China. Or China came and said, we want to build ECOWAS secretariat for you for free. And all the ECOWAS presidents marched proudly to say yes and went to lay the foundation without an iota of shame. I think it's unfortunate that this is where we are today in Africa, that we've been independent for decades, and the countries that were behind some African countries in terms of development, of advancement, of enlightenment, education, mercy, these countries like China now are the ones helping us to build house. No,
you know, but
and the same thing, Messi, just for me to summarize, the same thing happened in Ghana, where it was the Chinese who built the Ghanaian presidential villa, all right, Flagstaff House. Now, the African presidents have foolishly gone to China, they call it aid, and they're going to build a giant edifice in Abuja as a new ECOWAS secretariat. I hope these leaders know and are aware of the hole they're digging for Africa by not being able to build common house, mercy. That is the Chinese now. So what have we achieved? And I hope they understand the security implications, because I mean, if you rely on a foreign country like China, for that matter, that has questions to answer about data breaches and all that. You know about Huawei now and what's going on in Canada. How shall we, Mercy, that there will be no bugs in that ECOWAS secretariat, you know, to listen to what the African West African leaders are saying? No,
but we need to move on.
Yeah, sorry, Mercy. We need to first of all we need to realize that we have nothing to celebrate, okay? And we need to redouble our efforts and then wake up and fulfill our potentials.
Well, to be very honest, I mean, just to add to that which you have said, we really do not have, I've always said that it's like you have a family. There's some things that are fundamental, they're just basic, they come to you. We're talking about taxpayers' money, unfortunately. But you have the APC who's really very great on this one. And they think that, I mean, for instance, we've gone back, history. We've gone back history to look at the fact that all of this project has not started before now. The second Niger bridge, and plans to have it. The Goodluck Jonathan administration felt like he made a lot of progress in terms of initiation, and then it's been completed by the Buhari's administration. But really, should we begin to applaud ourselves? These are things that should come towards.
Let's see. Don't be too sure. It is set to be completed.
Well, of 95%, and that's why they're opening. And I hope this is not even a test run.
Have you heard? You heard where FRSC
but there's another thing that we should pay attention to that worries, and it's really of a major concern, and it should be to every other person. According to the World Bank, it would take 300 years for us to get the kind of infrastructure that we want. But looking at the pace that we're developing, and it's an irony, if you ask me. Especially when we say we're doing a lot of borrowing, and some of the funds that we have recovered, looted funds, have been diverted into infrastructure, and then here we are. Really, it's quite worrisome. But of course, we will continue to talk about these things, and lend the voices to it until we get the desired result.
All right, let's quickly move on to the last top trending segment. This one is a good one for Africa. Even though, some people were having had issues, but we'll come to that in a second. Morocco, stunned Portugal to become the first African country to get to the semi-finals of football's biggest festival, the biggest sports tournament in the world, the biggest sports competition in the world, the FIFA World Cup. Of course, they stunned Portugal 1-0 to reach a semi-final for the first time, the first African country, the first Arab country to get to the World Cup semi-final. Of course, Yusuf El Nasri's header on 42 minutes in that quarterfinal game was the deciding factor at the end of the day. That lone goal eliminated Cristiano Ronaldo's team and his Portugal team from the World Cup, ending his dream, effectively putting a sword into that dream. To the heart of that dream of winning the World Cup in his career. I think Morocco have surpassed 3 other African sides who've reached the quarterfinals. Cameroon did so in 1990. I remember my uncle shouting, "Africa, Africa," I can't forget. And I heard him, and I ran out as a youngster, and I saw that he was watching Cameroon versus England in the 1990 World Cup, Italia 90. They also surpassed Senegal, who did it in 2002. That famous team featuring El Hadji Diouf, firstly beating France in the opening match, and they've surpassed Ghana in 2010. The game took place at Al Thumama Stadium in Doha, a very beautiful stadium. And Ronaldo, who is a 5 times Ballon d'Or winner, did not start the game. After 51 minutes, he was brought on for Ruben Neves, but it was too little, too late. And all we can say is congratulations to the Atlas Lions of Morocco, and to Cristiano Ronaldo and his Portugal team.
So just a bit of it. I mean, it's been, the World Cup we've actually witnessed several, some people would say it's a miracle, because you just see great teams. For instance, you talk about Germany. I remember once upon a time where Germany had that, strong presence, likes of Argentina. You want to go on with some of this powerful England and what have you, but you look at 2022 on the World Cup, that's a different story. But for Morocco and Portugal, it was really a great one. And for those who are fans of Ronaldo, it wasn't really good with them. You had mixed reactions. Some people felt, I mean, I could see him crying, and it broke my heart to be very honest, because I felt like, you did your best, and what happened. It's football. It's a game. Everybody comes to win, and the best team would always win. Even though some people would say it's luck, but I'm not sure it's luck. But the one that actually stands out is the fact that, yes, Africa has actually made it to that. And it's a proud thing because the entire world, everybody was, especially if you're on this other side of the divide, I mean, you're Africa, everyone was, chanting the fact that Morocco has gone there. But that's a question mark to it. That the fact that they're not even, some people are describing that, it's not Africa. They're not even saying that they're Africans, but rather they're saying that, it's the Arab nation. So where does that stand? I remember having this conversation with my brother. He said, let them take themselves out of the map. They're in the map, so it's Africa, and that's what it is. But it's a good one, and we're very happy and proud. And of course, we can't wait to see what happens, when they get to meet, who are they playing again?
France.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, France.
It would be great to see that, Morocco hits. But when you have the likes of Mbappe is, great. He's been very awesome with his game, in the World Cup. That's it.
Yeah. Mercy, I have a prediction. I've been telling people that Morocco will win the World Cup. Yeah, I've been telling people. I've been telling some football pundits. I think in the quarterfinals I said they'll win the World Cup, and they were laughing, and they thought they were going to get kicked out by Portugal, and I will still put my neck on the chopping block or step out to say more. I think Morocco will win the World Cup. It doesn't make sense, but I think they'll win the World Cup. This is what Ghana should have done in 2010, because. Morocco, see, let's have no illusions about it. I'll make this quick. Morocco is an Arab country, all right? I know they apply to be part of West ECOWAS. That's diplomatic, but these guys see themselves first as Arabs before they see themselves as Africans. And I mean, Black Africans need not to struggle about that because they are Arabs. They're Arabs. They just happen to be on the African continent, but in reality, they are Arabs, and it's okay. I don't think anyone should feel offended. They feel more affinity with the Arabs than with Black Africans, which is okay. But I think that whilst Africa, so they can be African, they can be Arab, it's okay. I'm supporting them, I see them as African, but I have no problems if a Moroccan player says we're Arabs. But I think we need to draw attention to the gruesome murder of African migrants at the Morocco-Spain border crossing, a town called Melilla. The videos are out there. Anyone can go on YouTube and watch them. I've watched it several times last month. They were gruesomely murdered by Moroccan police. And I think all Black Africans need to use this opportunity to tell the Moroccans that they need to launch an investigation into the gruesome murder of Black African migrants who were simply trying to cross from Morocco to Spain seeking a better life. And whilst they're enjoying the support of the African continent, then tell us why our brothers and sisters were killed. If you watch the videos and the footage, you'll be horrified. I think we'll leave it at that. And may the best team win. I'm supporting Morocco despite that, but we need to know what happened to those African migrants at Melilla. In the company.
We need to go now, Kofi. Yes. That's so much we can take, but it's unfortunate that we have gotten to a point where we have to say Black Africans. Really? Is that what we're talking about now? But that's the size of it. On our top trending, we'll take a break and we'll come back with Off the Press. Please stay with us.